light reminder lets you know. Totally immersed in the movie? Minimize software won't distract you. Brake reminder and force brake help manage your screen time. When it's almost time, a countdown starts. Force brake activates to rest your eyes. I care you. Safeguard your eyes. Safeguard your eyes smartly and easily with an eye care monitor and eye care U software. Working on a paper? Turn on low blue light mode. Is the sun too bright? Let brightness intelligence do its work.
Well, the racing continues here on race day number 35 here on AMX Global, and it's myself, Alex, and Marco back with you once again. We go from Marco's favourite type of category to something that I actually really enjoy. We go from front-wheel drive to Spec Series competition for 2 races, and we're going to have 2 iconic rear-wheel drive cars, one of which was a recent addition to the iRacing server, one that has been a stalwart for Porsche Cup challenges all across the globe in esports competition. So we've got AMX 5 and AMX 0 up tonight, and there are just 9 race days to go, Marco, until the end of beta season 2. Can you believe that? The season's flown by.
Seems yesterday, like we started, Alex, and getting closer and closer towards the end of the season. You were right in pointing it out. A fantastic menu for us today with the Cup cars, of course, the Porsche Cup popular everywhere, the World Championship car for road racing in iRacing right now. Of course, the Dallara will be coming back in next season, hopefully. And of course, as you were saying, the entry-level rookie car that I absolutely love, the Toyota GR86 in the free track as well, Rudskogen. So my debut, your debut, commentating on that track. But first, of course, back to Germany.
Yeah, my secondary home, it's race 22 of AMX 5, and we're heading to the iconic Eifel region of Germany, to the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit. It's a wonderful track that has really showcased some of the best racing from top tier all the way down to grassroots motorsport. There you see the main pit complex as the cars are making their way around for free practice. It's beta season 2, June 7th hits day 35 out of 44 here on AMX Global, and we've got 4 more race days to happen next week, starting from June 11th on Sunday night Eastern Standard Time. But we come to the standings. Well, we come to the points actually. For AMX 5, it's $5 a piece to enter, and if you are placing at least 11th or below, you're going to make back your money that you decided to spend to enter into this competition. $25 for the race winner, $5 for fastest lap, $20 for second, $15 for third, and so on and so forth until we get down to the bottom of the top 20. Of course, with AMX Global rules, you finish under 80% behind, well, if you finish with it underneath 80% of the winner's race time, you are considered a DNF, which means no bueno, you score no points, thereby you score no prize money. And here is the AMX 5 standings coming into this race day. Gael Valero, who returns once again, is a little bit further ahead than maybe a lot of people might have suspected. $75 is his lead, ahead of Gaston Coulharvey. Diego Villarreal returns once again. Corentin Guiñez is 4th, ahead of Jackson Resenje. And we've even got good old Fabio. We were hoping to have maybe fabulous Fabio Zampolini, because Jackson Resenje and Fabio Zampolini have been racing in the Porsche Cup North American League quite recently, where Resenje actually picked up the W. So those are your standings. The payout is at the end of the season. But you know what, Marco, I'll hand over to you to take us through the track and the car configuration for our first race tonight.
Yes, the beautiful Grand Prix Strecke, of course, built on top of what was once the pit complex of the Nordschleife and the Südschleife, of course, which is beautifully preserved in Automobilista 2 in its 71 version, and basically the new home of the Grand Prix here at the Nurburgring after the crash of Niki Lauda, of course, was basically the breaking point for safety around what was a beautiful but unsustainable track for F1 in the 70s. And then, of course, going into the 80s. It has hosted the F1 as recently as 2020, and of course, the what was once called the VLN series still going strong. The 24-hour race, it is non-championship, of course, which happened just a few weeks back, and of course, all other categories. Certainly a beautiful track, of course. Today we will be limiting ourselves to the 5-kilometer version of the full Grand Prix layout. And as we were saying earlier, the beautiful Porsche Cup car will be our car of choice for today in these beautiful pictures produced by our fantastic crew behind the scenes. It has been sort of a tradition recently that iRacing has been introducing this car together with Porsche even before it makes its debut in real life. And of course, as I was saying in the opening, it is the car of choice for iRacing Road World Championship, has been for so many years now, and will be, I assume, for the future as well. The latest generation of the beautiful Porsche GT3 Cup car. I love the new design, even, bigger, better, more powerful than the previous one. And so a beautiful car, so difficult to drive, no electronic help of any kind, very nimble. The brakes are actively looking to push you off the track constantly. You really need to become a great driver. Needs, Alex, not a surprise that Porsche basically, especially the top level of Porsche Super Cup competition, basically we can say they use the Porsche Super Cup and this car to find out the next drivers for their GT and now prototype programs for the international competitions, because this car is such a fantastic gym, to find out who really has the talent to become the next Porsche factory driver.
Yeah, one of my good friends, Glenn Van Parijs, actually drives this vehicle in the Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux, which will be competing this weekend at the Hockenheim Ring. It has seen so many different drivers really showcasing their prowess. Nick Tandy being one of those drivers. You've also got the likes of Robert de Haan, one of the young Flying Dutchmen, who is racing at... a bit of a tank slapper there for Gaston Koolhavi as he makes his way through the exit at Warsteiner. This particular circuit, 5.148 kilometers, just a shade under 3.2 miles as Koolhavi goes through Advan at just a shade over 140 miles an hour in fifth gear. Now brakes for the NGK chicane. Going to be bumping over the curbs. This car is very much unforgiving, and also through the the Porsche Carrera Super Cup, the Mobile One Super Cup that runs alongside Formula One. They are running on 100% sustainable e-fuels through a joint venture conducted by Porsche Motorsport. But Jackson Assange is the fastest one out there by nearly half a second after the free practice, as we now get started with our 10-minute qualifying session that will lead us into an 8-lap race around this iconic circuit. This track has been around since the mid-1980s, and in the latter part, well, not in the latter part, in pretty much what has been 5 decades worth of competition, which is just entering at this moment. Drivers are really going to have to steel themselves around this tight circuit. And as we see the number 3 of Gaston Koolhavi making his way through out of the Mercedes arena, down through into the next left-hander here at Valvoline. And this has been one of the tracks that has also been featured on the newest sim racing platform to hit everything. That was just, funny enough, released its closed beta for the very first time. I'm talking about the simulator known as Rennsport that recently held the ESL R1 Spring Majors in Munich this past weekend, just gone. Marcel Chinchik from RHG managed to be ended up being the Spring Major champion, the first ever ESL R1 champion. But we concentrate on now who is going to be the best of everybody. There's Gaio Valero in the number 33, not too far in the number 5 car. Number 33, we've got Kaya Gaspar in the number 5, Reshende in the number 93, Villarreal in the 22, and no surprise here. Normal service is resumed with the Uruguayan. He is taking great chagrin in having the virtual Nurburgring hospitality whilst everyone else is out for qualification, Marco.
Absolutely. By the way, I have not received a key for the beta, which is absolutely embarrassing. And I, as a celebrity like myself and a fantastic driver like myself, I could have provided some invaluable feedback. All jokes aside, it's been nice following the races on YouTube, and of course the big events they had, the first and the last one in person. My good friend Dane Bird, of course, has been doing the production behind the scenes. Little known fact about this is that I gave Dane his tryout back at Apex Racing TV a few years ago. So
right, I got some dirt on him officially. Thank you, Marco. We'll have to have this discussion via Discord DM a little bit later on when we're both back up and awake. But yeah, we'll leave that one as water under the bridge for the moment. Keys for Marco, justice for Marco now being shown on the YouTube chat already. Yeah, we're seeing that Gaio Valero's the fastest in the first sector out of 5 here at the Nurburgring. And the lovely flat 6 engine just roars as it goes up the gears. It's a wonderful sounding engine. It is basically the son of the Volkswagen Beetle, which is where it got its engine layout from. Anyone might remember the classic VW Beetle 1303. And Volkswagen being German for the people's car, but Porsche have taken it and amplified it by evolution, not revolution. We're seeing some sector times come in. Resenje's gone purple in Sector 3, Valero's fastest in Sector 1, Gaspar's fastest in Sector 2, as the number 5 from Brazil makes his way through Advan at 145 plus miles an hour in 6th gear, nearly at 240 on the braking zone into the NGK chicane. He's going to bump over the curbs. The wheels go skyward on the left-hand side. We're just waiting for the first benchmark times to come in. We're 40% of the way through this qualifying session as Gaspar comes out of the final corner. Let's see as Resenje completely sideways out of the Hyundai N curve. Gaspar puts in the first lap time, but then Resenje just betters it by 1/4 of a tenth of a second. Gulharvi goes P3 on a 2-minute 3.102. Villarreal, oh, he's on an outlap. Diego has heard the call and went, right, this Porsche is, and he's gone with the good old, as we like to say, the Bogo standard Porsche Motorsport livery on that number 22. Valero at the moment, his first lap was actually disallowed due to exceeding track limits, and the fastest person in terms of terminal velocity is Resenje, 247 kph around this particular circuit, just over 5.1 kilometers. Resenje goes purple in sector number 1 with a 37.279, and then does an 18.0 in the second one. Gaspar started responding 17.887 in sector number 2 as we are right on board with the number 93 from Brazil. So at the moment, Resenje and Gaspar, they have just gone through the Michael Schumacher S's and through into Michelin coming up now, hard on the brakes. Is he going to go down to second? No, he doesn't. He carries the speed through at about 70 miles an hour in 3rd gear through Warsteiner. Now builds the pace. Resenje had a bit of a slightly sloppy second sector. Personal best in sector number 3. Gulharvi's gone quickest in sector 3 out of anybody. Gaspar is fastest in sectors 2 and 4. As they're now making their way through the NGK chicane. 6 minutes down, 4 to go. Gaspar comes out of the final corner. The used to be known as the Coca-Cola corner, now known as the Hyundai N corner. And what does Gaspar do on this particular lap? Let's see if he does improve. 2 minute 1.925. But Resenje with an absolute send and a half. 2 minute 1.692. And Valero pumps in a lap time that was 59 thousandths slower than Resenje. And Villarreal has decided to, well, he's on a lap at the moment. Whether he's going to complete a lap is anyone's guess, because he's about 15% of the way through it, but very, very close between the top 3. 0.173 cover than Marco, and this Porsche Super Cup car is just an absolute animal to handle.
It's one of those cars that I always want to come back and really try for myself and become good at it. It's such a pleasure to drive, but it's one of those cars, it really requires you 100% concentration all the way through. As I was saying in the opening, there is no traction control, no ABS, and the brakes especially are incredibly, almost, I would say, weird. I cannot find any similar car that has, in the racing service that has similar brake profile. So you basically, if you want to drive this car and you want to drive it well and you want to stay on the track, more importantly, you need to focus 100%. And the sound, it's amazing. By the way, going through the release notes, of course, for those that didn't know, yesterday, now on Tuesday, we had the new iRacing Season 3 patch that comes out, well, the new build that comes out every 3 months. No significant updates for the Toyota, Rudskogen, and of course this racetrack, but big news for the Porsche Cup car. The new damage model finally has been activated for this car. Same what we had with the Clio, of course, yesterday. So again, hopefully the drivers will keep their cars squeaky clean. But if they don't, as Diego is almost getting a lap time on the board. We shall see in case of contact and crashes, whatever. Bits and pieces will fly everywhere. Valero 201.8, and we will have one more lap. Let's see if Villarreal has gone clean around his attempt, and if he's oh, he does. 207.6, a bit slower, but I don't care. It's a lap time, and he will be, starting with a valid lap time in 5th place.
Yeah, coming down to the final 60 seconds of this qualifying session here at the Nurburgring Grand Prix Strecke. So, moment there for Kaya Gaspar, and that is his run at qualifying completed. Jackson Resenge comes out of the final corner. He'll have an opportunity to put in another lap as he will come across the line very, very shortly. Has just done so, so that would have been an outlap. A very, very slow first sector, but quite reflective of an outlap, and then starting to push the car a little bit further, try and get the optimum out of it as he goes through into the Mercedes arena once again. It's a little bit wider going through between turns 2 and 3, and then it's the right-hander here that brings them onto the rundown out to the Mercedes arena, and then heading down into Valvoline, or the next right-hander at Ford. Resenge goes in, fastest first sector of anybody. That was a 37.2 as the checkered is out for the session. Valero at the moment nearly 85% of the way through his final push lap as the checkered is out. So Kulhavi will start from 4th. Diego Villarreal will start from 5th position. Valero does an improvement, personal best in sector number 2 at 21.971. As Resenge makes his way out of Dunlop through the Michael Schumacher S's. Second sector not really to say much, to write home much about. Makes his way into Michelin. Third sector, not an improvement there either by the Brazilian in the number 93 Porsche. As he goes into Warsteiner, E90 right here before his pedal to the metal, out of the corner, run the car wide, maybe a slight touch on the gravel on the left, through into the right-hander here at Advan, over 140 miles an hour. He's done a personal best in sector number 4. That was a 22.034, not the fastest sector of anybody by any stretch as he comes through the NGK chicane, now into the Hyundai N-Curve for the last time. Is there going to be an improvement from Jackson Resenge? He's about to cross the line, and we're going to find out now. That lap was, when it resets, a 2-minute 1.871. That concludes qualifying for this particular race here for AMX 5 on Beta Season 2. Race 22 of the season so far. We will have a few more AMX 5 races. We'll have the, on Sunday night, we'll have the Radical SR8s at Daytona International Speedway. We'll then have NASCAR Next Gen on the 12th of June at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Formula V back here at the Nurburgring, and then we'll have GT4s at Red Bull Ring, GR86s at Scuba, Legends 434 Coupes at Langley Speedway, Mazda MX-5s at Alton Park, GT3s at Spa, and the 31st and final race of AMX Season 5 will take place at Brands Hatch with Renault Clio Cups. But Jackson Resenge takes pole by 59 thousandths of a second ahead of Gaio Valero. So that will be your front row, this 8-lap race. Caio Gaspar, further 0.11 behind in 3rd position. Gaston Kulhavi, there's his car there in the number 3. 1.18 seconds off of Resenge in the battle for pole position, with Diego Villarreal not only completing a lap, setting a lap time. 2 minutes 7.634. So vamos, Diego. Well done, buddy. And that is the car there. It's going to be a total of $161 prize pool. Prizes played up to 20th position. It's $25 US for a win, 20 for second, 15 for third, and then 4th and 5th. That's $12 a piece. Fastest lap of the race will net you $5. The cars are now starting to ready up on the grid ahead of their 8-lap race. Air temperature 25.5 degrees Celsius. Track temperature, more importantly here, Marco, nearly 47.8. And in cars like these tyres can overheat very, very quickly if you put a foot wrong.
Yeah, I'm not envious of the drivers having to contend with this track temperature. Also, of course, no formation lap, so it's going to be straight into turn 1. And turn 1, of course, and all the first sector, but especially turn 1, really the place where you can go for a dive. Drivers will have to be careful, not only themselves, but looking behind them to maybe anticipate any kind of dive bomb and maybe move out of the way, because this is one of those first corners that really invite you into sending the car into turn 1, going for the overtake. We are just missing our French friend Gael Valero, and after him we should be all good to go for this AMX 5 race. The grid is completed. Here comes Gael, and so the race procedure will start. So,
flat 6 boxer engines on all 5 cars now start to build as we gear up for AMX 5, and the green light shows the flag waves, and Rudskogen gets the whole shot he needs going down into Yokohama, formerly known as the Haughaken, as Gaston Kulharvi up the inside of Caio Gaspar, who runs a little bit wide as they go through Yokohama now into the Mercedes arena. Rudskogen got the jump on everybody. Gaspar keeps ahead of Kulharvi for the moment. Villarreal bringing up the rear of the field as Kulharvi looking to go into the next left-hander as they make their way through Valvoline into the right-hander here at out of the Mercedes AMG arena. There they are. What a wonderful sound. These cars producing over 500 horsepower apiece. And with no ABS, no traction control, it's pretty much pedal to the metal. It's about a fine balance between performance, as in flat-out speed, and the characteristic handling of the Porsches as they make their way through into Dunlop. Rudskogen being hounded slightly in this early phase of the race by Gael Valero. Gap now as they go through Michael Schumacher S's is just under 4.5 tenths of a second. Now the run down, short shoot down to the left hand here at Michelin. 2 wheels out of the track limits, but still they are able to do that. Valero starting to carry that momentum through as they go through Warsteiner. Now it's going to be a case of dueling at 140 miles an hour plus in 5th gear as they go through Advan. That gap is now 2 tenths as Diego Villarreal round the outside of Gaston Kulharvi through Advan of all places, as the leaders now making their way through into the Hyundai N-Curve as Villarreal and Kulharvi exit the NGK chicane. Nevertheless, after the opening lap, some great moves, especially by Diego Villarreal. That's one of the best moves I've seen around the outside of Advan in a very, very long time there, Marco.
Absolutely fantastic move from Diego, who always been a very careful driver and very, rarely we've seen him doing spectacular things. Oh, but no, he goes a little bit too deep in here and undoes all the good work he did for the beautiful overtake earlier. So Gaston Kulharvi back into 4th place. There at the front, Rudskogen and Valero still keeping this more or less half a second of distance between the pair of them. But as we can see, the AMX fan of the day celebrating for this amazing start of the race.
And celebrating with a toilet roll that he's just managing to shred pieces off at the moment as we speak. That just goes to show the thing is, the Zoom is not just for the competitors, it's also for you fans out there that want to take part. So we want to, as we say, it's Zoom time here on AMX, but at the moment, Rudskogen still being put under pressure. Valero was probably the best part of nearly half a second slower after the opening lap. We're 60% through the second lap out of 8, and the gap is coming down again. 0.34 of a second between Rudskogen and Valero. Looking at the sector times, Valero on this particular occasion has been quicker, especially through sector number 4 on the previous lap, where he took over 2 tenths out of Rudskogen as they're making their way through into the next right-hander. This will be Advan they're coming through now, as they're 80% through the lap. And again, Valero was quicker by over a tenth. That gap is very much... The pendulum is swinging to and fro. Was that a slowdown for Ascension? It's a slowdown. He came out of the NGK chicane, and Valero saw his opportunity around the outside. And now, look at that lead. That's 1.8 seconds. And what that has also done is allowed Caio Gaspar to start closing in on Resenje. So all that hard work, you know, put it on pole position, too many incident points, and Resenje gets what he does not need, a slowdown, and he makes a mistake into Yokohama. Oh, dearie me, it's gone from bad to worse for Jackson Resenje in the number 93. I know I can probably feel my ears burning. There's probably quite a few choice words coming out of Jackson Resenje's mouth at the moment, on whichever voice chat he might be on at the minute, but that's not what you need. He's got to just gather himself up, dust himself off, go after Caio Gaspar. And there is still time. There is still time here, Marco. I mean, if Valero or Gaspar make uncustomary, unforced errors, Senji could be back in for the W again.
Yeah, it's basically the algorithm in which iRacing calculates the length of the slowdown. Basically needs some data to work with, and this is why in the first couple of laps of the race the slowdowns are much more punishing, because basically nobody is at race speed just yet, and so the first lap is deadly, the second lap a little bit less, but still very, very costly if you get a slowdown, because the simulator doesn't have the lap by lap data or enough data from all the drivers to basically understand how much you have gained by cutting the course. So this is why there is this mantra between iRacing drivers: never get a slowdown in the first two laps of a race. And unfortunately for Resenje it was at the tail end of the second lap, and that's why basically he had to almost come to a stop on the front stretch, losing not one but two positions, of course, also making that big mistake into turn one. So now, as you were saying, for him maybe Valero is a bit further forward than he would have liked, but the fight for second place between the two Brazilians could very well go on all the way through the end of the race. And the same goes, of course, you know, let's see, if Valero makes a mistake, of course, would come back to them and the fight would expand into a three-way fight. But so far so good for the Frenchman in the lead of the race.
Yeah, Caio Valero has the lead of just over 2.5 seconds over these two drivers that are battling over second and third position. It's Caio Gaspar versus Jackson Resenje as they make their way down into the left-hander here at Valvoline before the right at Ford. And then it's the Parabolica style run down to Dunlop. You see Resenje using all of the track and then some, especially with the curbing going into and out of Ford. We ride on board inside the cockpit of the number 93, adverse right-hand down camber here at Dunlop. Well, they power out of the corner, run the car wide, and then the approach up the hill through the Michael Schumacher S's here at the Nurburgring. Great to see these onboard camera shots by our production team in South Korea. Big thank you to them as always, and we have to give a shout out to the man that provides those fantastic car description videos. Good old Jacob, well done to him. Does a fantastic job as always, but this gap it seems to be stabilizing a little bit because both Gaspar and Resenje were very, very wide. They were even on the gravel coming out of Warsteiner heading into Advance, so that's going to lose them a little bit of time to Valero, but Resenje very, very deep on the race into the NGK chicane. Resenje nearly flies with all four wheels in the air through the second part of it, but so we're going to have a replay now of Jackson Resenje's slowdown penalty. So we see that Valero was closing, but this is going through into the NGK chicane. So Resenje throws it in, and oh, that was a big cut on that chicane, and that's where he would have gotten the last incident point to put him on the slowdown. Pulls to the right-hand side, knows that it's happened, and Valero was there and passed very, very quickly indeed. And then it was only a case that the Jaws music started ringing in my ears because I saw Caio Gaspar trying to close on in. And Rudskogen started to get back up to speed, but he'll be ruining that mistake through the NGK chicane, one of the biggest places. You don't want that to happen.
Yeah, much like the first chicane at Monza, is one of those corners where you really need to, if you want to go fast, basically, Alex, every lap needs to be a gamble, trying to shave as much time as possible without cutting too much and then being tagged with the slowdown. So it's always complicated, especially because it's difficult to position the car the same way, the same time, every lap. And now, and of course, he was looking back because, as you were saying, Valero was getting closer and closer, so the pressure effectively cost him, I think, a lot there, because he forced him into this unforced error, so to speak, that caused him to drop not one but two places. So we'll see now, because I was expecting Rudskogen to be much closer to Gaspar after, after the slowdown, after one lap to gather himself and get back to speed, but this has not been the case. The gap is now hovering around the 1 second mark, and when Gael Valero crosses the start-finish line in a couple of seconds, we will only have 3 laps to go. So Jackson needs to get a move on if he wants to have a shot at second place.
Yeah, his lap times have been probably the best part of over 0.2 of a second slower than Caio Gaspar as they cross the line to start lap number 6. So 3 to go, another fastest lap of the race. 2 minute 1.495 by Francis Gael Valero from Apex Racing Team, and there is the car making its way through Yokohama, and then heading into the Mercedes arena. So it's a case of going as deep into the corner as you dare, swing the car around wide, and then again make sure you go to the right hand side to get the best approach into the Mercedes arena, which is a very quick successive double left and through the right and using as much of the track as he can, heading into the next left-hander here at Valvoline. And it looks like there was a little bit of an off-track there for Jackson Rudskogen in the number 93, so that has put the gap between him and Caio Gaspar to just north of 1.1 seconds. But Valero, as soon as he put the pressure on to Rudskogen, those unforced errors do sometimes unfortunately rear their ugly head, and it's not what you want when you get a significant slowdown, which puts Rudskogen to the tune of nearly 2 seconds behind Valero, who now has nearly a 3.2 second advantage as we're heading into just over 50% of lap number 6 being completed here at the Nurburgring. There's Caio Gaspar, the Metro Network sponsored number 5 car. Rudskogen is trying to close that gap. Rudskogen was actually slightly quicker through sector number 3 on the previous lap, but he seems to be losing a little bit of time as, again, coming out of Warsteiner, Rudskogen is sideways and off into the gravel, so that's going to put some dirt on those slick tyres as they head into the NGK chicane again, and they're down to just under 0.9 of a second, make that 7.5 tenths. And Rudskogen a little bit more purposeful through that chicane as our race leader, Gael Valero, now will come across the line. What's his lap time this time going to be? 2 minute 2.395. And Rudskogen just puts in a 2 minute 1. Now it's got that gap down to just around about 0.6 of a second as they head back into Yokohama. So Rudskogen starting to get a little bit of a wriggle on. He's starting to gather some pace. So Gaspar's just really got to watch his rear wing, because Rudskogen is menacing him and he's trying to force him into a mistake as they go through the Mercedes arena once again.
Massively crucial to not make any mistakes right now. Not sliding the car can be considered crucial also as well, because the moment you go with a little bit of a slide coming out of a corner, for example, or locking the brakes, entering a corner, and we talked at length earlier in the broadcast how easy it is to make a mistake under brakes with this car, can be the end of your race, because of course the iRacing tire model, as we've said many times in this broadcast, incredibly sensitive to temperature changes. That, combined with the finicky brakes of these cars and the very high track temperature, basically the moment you put those tires into a stressful situation, it's going to take 2-3 laps to get them back to a decent but not perfect status. And with, of course, 1.5 lap left, even less than that, it's crucial that Gaspar and Hasenji don't make any kind of mistakes. The gap 0.7 of a second now, so far, despite the attempts of Hasenji, Gaspar has been able to repel any kind of thought of an attack from his fellow countrymen. He will need to resist for basically just one more lap and a couple of corners, even though fantastic chicane there from Hasenji. And now, all of a sudden, things can change so quickly. Alex is in the hunt, on the hunt, I should say.
Last lap underway, white flag is out. Rudskogen is within 0.2 of a second of Kaya Gaspar as they head down to Yokohama for the final time here on lap number 8. Rudskogen looking for the move, late brakes, up the inside of the number 5 he goes, and through into Yokohama goes the number 93 of Jackson Rudskogen, but he runs a little bit wide. This could allow Kaya Gaspar to get the crisscross on him. However, the 93 says, no you do not. Runs a little bit wide with the first of the double left-hander here at the Mercedes AMG Arena. Gaspar knows that he's got possibly 1 or 2 more opportunities to strike as they come out of the arena, head down towards Valvoline, which will be the next left-hander. Palm the brakes, down the gearbox from 5th to 3rd, turn it in, clip the apex, clip the curbing, through into the right at Ford. Gap is just under 0.37 of a second, as a little bit of a touch on the kitty litter by the left rear wheel of Kaya Gaspar as they head down to Dunlop. Meanwhile, Valero, his lead was about 3.1 seconds, 3.2 seconds at its highest. It's just a shade under 3, as Gaspar now losing more time to Rudskogen. Rudskogen was quicker in the opening sector by nearly 1/10 and a half after launching it up the inside. As they go through into Michelin, then into the right-hander here at Warsteiner towards one of the fastest part on this circuit. Advan coming up next as we get this wonderful rear camera shot from Rudskogen looking at Gaspar. But whilst they're battling away, our race leader, Francis Gael Valero, would continue to extend his lead in AMX5. The number 33 from Apex Racing Team heads through into the Hyundai N Curva, and Valero picks up another win, another convincing win despite the slowdown from Jackson Rudskogen. It is Valero victorious here in the Eifel region of Germany at the Nurburgring. Rudskogen fights back to finish second ahead of Kaya Gaspar by just over 3.5 tenths. Unfortunately, Diego Villarreal only completing 7 laps as Gaston Coulthard makes his way across the line and finishes in 4th. Diego Villarreal actually did finish 7 out of 8 laps, which is more than 80% by my count. So every single driver picks up points, picks up prize money, and Gael Valero takes a whopping $30, 6 times his entry fee, by winning the race and picking up the fastest lap. Jackson Rudskogen, it's that woulda, coulda, shoulda situation. Had he not got that slowdown in front of Valero early doors after the track cut through the NGK chicane, caused the 93 to drop down to 3rd behind Kaya Gaspar. But that's your top 3. Coulthard in 4th. Villarreal rounds out the top 5. That's it for race 22 for AMX 5 here on AMX Global Beta Season 2. Race 23 will be effectively on Sunday evening in just over 72 hours time at the Daytona International Speedway, with the Radical SR8s in action. But Marco, looking back over that race, Valero made sure that he was in the right place at the right time. He started applying the pressure to Gael Valero, not to Gael Valero, but to Jackson Rudskogen. And Rudskogen just made one of those slightest mistakes. You know, they have a certain amount of incident points here on iRacing, and it just took him over the edge.
It did, and that was, of course, the lesson for everybody watching us. Maybe new people coming into sim racing. You don't always have to go for the move. You can also force your opponent into making the mistake and making it, of course, easier for you. And from then on was smooth sailing for Valero. But how quickly things changed in the fight for second place. I thought that Hasenji was out of the fight, and then he did that final corner now very well, the final chicane very well, and basically 2 corners later, he was back in second position. But now, take a little bit of a break, and now still a cup car, still a single make, one make with the Toyota 86, but completely different kind of car, much more user-friendly, let's say newbie-friendly. In fact, I love driving it, and in a track that it's quite a unique challenge, very nice to hot lap, very difficult to race. Rudskogen, I can't wait for that one.
Yep, so we head from the Eifel regions of Germany and we head over to Norway, to Scandinavia, to Rudskogen with the GR86 Cup car. Don't forget, hit us up on social media. If you haven't already liked us followed us on any of the respective social medias, please make sure you do so. It keeps you up to date with everything that's going on, such as race results, epic reels, videos, and a whole lot more. Telling you about how to join us, you can head to amxrace.com. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow our Twitch channel. It might be one click for you. For us, it means a hell of a lot more. It means we're able to expand our reach, but also to help make sure that seasons like this carry on. A big thank you to Automanics and to BenQ for their welcome support. And we here at AMX Global are powered by Outfit. Join myself and Marco a little bit later on as we'll be heading to Rudskogen with the GR86 Cup car in a few moments' time for AMX Zero. See you in a bit.
Safeguard your eyes smartly and easily with an eye care monitor and eye care U software. Working on a paper? Turn on low blue light mode. Is the sun too bright? Let brightness intelligence do its work. Now better. Writing code gets your eyes tired? Try coding mode. Forget the time. Light reminder lets you know. Totally immersed in the movie? Minimize software won't distract you. Break reminder and force break help manage your screen time. When it's almost time, a countdown starts. Force break activates to rest your eyes. Eye care you. Safeguard your eyes. Safeguard your eyes smartly and easily with an eye care monitor and eye care U software. Working on a paper? Turn on low blue light mode. Is the sun too bright? Let brightness intelligence do its work. Now better. Writing code gets your eyes tired? Try coding mode. Forget the time. Light reminder lets you know. Totally immersed in the movie? Minimize software won't distract you. Break reminder and force break help manage your screen time. When it's almost time, a countdown starts. Force break activates to rest your eyes. Eye care you. Safeguard your eyes. Safeguard your eyes smartly and easily with an eye care monitor and eye care U software. Working on a paper? Turn on low blue light mode. Is the sun too bright? Let brightness intelligence do its work. Now better. Writing code gets your eyes tired? Try coding mode. Forget the time. Light Reminder lets you know. Totally immersed in the movie? Minimize software won't distract you. Brake Reminder and Force Brake help manage your screen time. When it's almost time, a countdown starts. Force Brake activates to rest your eyes.
So it's time here on race day number 35 for our second half of rear-wheel drive action. We've headed away from the Eifel region in Germany from the Porsche 992 Cup car. We've headed to Scandinavia to the Rudskogen Motor Speedway, the Toyota GR86s. Whereas myself, Alex, and Marco back with you once again. This time it is AMX 0. It is our entry-level tier. Now the thing is, here on AMX Global, we pride ourselves on being here for everybody. So we're here for everyone, as the hashtag would probably say. But this is where it's the entry level. It's race number 30 of AMX 0. Coming up on AMX 0 over the remainder of the calendar, we've got the Chevy Silverado trucks at Phoenix on race 31. We've also got the Kia Optimas make a return here on AMX Global to Okayama on race 32 on the 15th of June. Then we head to VIR, Virginia International Raceway, on race 33 on the 19th. We're still on day 35. There's going to be a total of 44 race days here before AMX Beta Season 2 comes to a close. AMX 0 will have one more race on the 22nd of June. That will be race 34 for the Formula Ford 1600s at Alton Park in Cheshire. So, as you can see, the track pans there. There is the total standings. It doesn't take into consideration the race that has just recently happened, but look at how close it is coming into tonight's race day 35. Gael Valero and Kyle Gaspar covered by just 3 points in total. And look at the win rate. After 29 races attended, Gael Valero is the most winningest driver this season. 18 out of 29. That's a 62% strike rate. Kyle Gaspar, 41 races attended, 10 won so far. Also look at the strike rate of Corentin Guignes, 61% of victories out of his 28 appearances. He's tied with Fabio Zampellini. Jackson Osenje in fourth. Gaston Colharvey completing the top three, with the top 6 drivers all eclipsing $1,200 prize mark so far in season 2. That is absolutely incredible how much it means for these drivers to come and compete with us day in, day out. So here is the prize pool for AMX 0. Nothing to enter. Total prize pool per race, $50. Fastest lap of the race bags you $2. You win the race, it's 10 in your pocket. Second is $6. Third is fourth. Third is $4. Then we got $3 for fourth and fifth, and it goes so on and so forth. And everyone in the top 20, if you make it to the finish and you go over 80% of the time completed by the race winner, you get points, dollars in your back pocket, courtesy of us here on AMX Global. Corentin Guignez leads the way in AMX Zero standings, but that could very well change tonight if Gael Valero picks up the victory and also the fastest lap of the race. He might actually be close to being tied on points as such. But Rudskogen, a new addition to the iRacing server, is based in Norway. One of the esports well-known drivers that actually races with Williams Esports was really happy when this car joined the service. It is, of course, Rudskogen. But Marco, take us through the GR86 Cup car, please, for the folks at home.
Oh yes, introduced by iRacing a couple of seasons ago in collaboration, of course, with Toyota of North America, and it's quickly become one of the most popular cars for rookie racing, and not only that, also included in the Nurburgring Endurance Championship as well. Such a beautiful car, free for everybody who's got a subscription, just like this racetrack, and it provides a fantastic entry level, in my opinion, to team top racing. Absolutely newbie friendly, as I like to call it, and of course, me being a terrible driver, I love this car. It really makes you feel at home. But if you want to push it, you can remove all the electronic aids like the ABS and traction control, and you know, really push it to the limit. And in fact, in iRacing, it has a rookie series, quick setup, free tracks. So you know, it's basically as entry level as you can, and then you can exit in multi-class with the Clio, the MX-5, the Ford Mustang, in an open setup, longer race environment where really you can go wild with the configuration. And you know, every time we get new free content on iRacing, it's always for the best, and this has been absolutely a hit in my opinion. As is this racetrack, which we see the cars taking turns around right now. The Rudskogen Motor Center, honestly, Alex, when it came out unannounced basically on iRacing, recently they've been doing this. They've been pushing out stuff with minimal hype or no hype at all. Like 2-3 days before the new build, you get a teaser screenshot which show the rocks that are in the middle portion of the racetrack, and 3 days later we have this new track from Norway into the service. It become a staple of the rookie series as well, and it's quite a unique challenge. Massive elevation changes, lots and lots of tricky corners, tricky braking areas, long range sweepers. Beautiful track to outlap. It's very challenging to race though, so I'm expecting a difficult race for these drivers, because there is really only one racing line through most of the racetrack, and when you go out of it, you are really in a tough position.
Yeah, the current variation of the Rudskogen Motor Centre, which was jointly owned by the Subsport Club, the Rekestad Municipality and the Norwegian Automobile Federation, various driving schools in the locality, was completed back in 2012. The current lap record is by, of course, a Spanish individual that has been in Formula One, has been in the World Endurance Championship, Marc Genet, 1 minute 9.5. We are going to see lap times quite considerably slower around this 3.25 kilometre circuit, which has in total 14 turns, as we ride on board with Francis Gael Valero to hopefully get a double victory here tonight on AMX Global. There is the number 3 car, that is Gaston Coulharvey, the Argentinian. So going with the more traditional Toyota Gazoo Racing North American livery. Looks like he's just sort of gently, it's like he's having a Sunday afternoon drive in the Norwegian countryside here at Rudskogen. But you need to be going a lot faster than that. There we got Jackson Asenge, Gaspar, and also Gael Valero. And it looks like it might be, has Caio Gaspar gone with the Hoonigan livery's back. Please tell me the Hoonigan livery's back with Caio Gaspar. Whenever he's been in the GR86, the Hoonigan livery, helping to represent the late Ken Block, back out on circuit again, but we're into the first, we've just passed the completion of the first fifth in this qualifying session. I'm not too sure what's going on with Gaston Kulharvi, but Resenje and Valero then put in the fastest respective first sectors of anybody. It was Resenje, then Valero. Valero did a 27.811, Resenje 27.897 through the opening sector. Not too sure what's going on with Gaston Kulharvi here. That is definitely not up to full speed there, Mark. I'm wondering if he's got an issue.
Yeah, very, very slow, and you know, going basically at 50 kph all around the lap. We are on board now with Gael Valero, and you can see basically in the second half of the racetrack, you can expect a lot of these kind of corners, these sweepers, long, dynamic corners, and hairpins almost everywhere, but as you can see, they go past the slow car there. This is of course the final corner, if I'm not mistaken, and the front stretch is actually pointing upwards, sort of like a, you know, light version of Circuit of the Americas, as Gael Valero gets provisional pole, 1:33.797, 7/10 of a second in front of Jackson Resenje. I was hoping, honestly, also for a Troll Subaru BRZ livery, but no driver was brave enough. Of course, the tidbit I always love to say, that in Super GT, in the GT300 category, there is the Toyota 86 and there is the Subaru BRZ, but whilst the BRZ is really a BRZ, although with a WRC engine, the Toyota 86 is a silhouette car with the mother chassis rules, which also has, for the horror of everybody, a Nissan engine. So it's quite interesting that these cars being identical in real life, in race competition they're different. Now this is the Cup car, of course, which is like a proper Toyota 86, so no silhouette kind of stuff. But in Japan, in GT300, the BRZ and the GR86 are completely different race cars.
So are the Toyota Priuses that sometimes frequent that grid as well. I remember one Toyota Prius that was so low slung, so wide, it was like Valeside had taken an angle grinder to it and shoehorned a fire-breathing, snarling V8 into the back of it. Good to see one of our biggest fans is back in the chat. Girl Made Car Memes, a regular. We've missed you. Glad to see that you've actually come back to watch some of the racing, as Gaston Kulharvi now up to speed in the number 3. He's going through turn 1 now into the right-hander here at turn 2. It's a long run up the hill, up the incline here at Rudskogen in Norway, and over the crest, or heading down the dip into the next right-hander at turn 3, with turn 4 coming up very, very shortly. And yeah, like you said about the fact of the trolling Subaru BRZ livery, I'm sure that someone might be able to oblige at some point, but won't be happening tonight. All 4 drivers have completed a lap time so far. The field has been completed by just around about 1.4 seconds. And yeah, Kulharvi has set personal best in Sector 1 at 27.845, so 32.0 in Sector 2, so another improvement for him. Keep with the number 3, the Argentinian, as he makes his way through into turn 12. And then it's the left-hander here at turn 13, carrying the momentum through. On the brakes, nose pitches downwards through into turn number 14 is 17.145. He was a 10th off of Valero in the 3rd sector as Gaston Kulharvi comes out of the 14th and final corner. What's his lap time going to be this particular occasion? Oh, puts him ahead of Caio Gaspar by 1/100th, and the entire field covered by just under 3/4 of a second, with 6 minutes and 45 seconds completed in this 10-minute qualification session ahead of an 11-lap race here on AMX 0.
I love the onboard shots, especially this one, where you can really tell how much the car is leaning on the left side and on the right side, and of course Jackson stops, because that is the curse of the onboard camera where the commentator talks about the racetrack. You can really see, even from these outside shots, of course, how much the car is leaning on the side in basically all of the corners, and this makes it such a nice track for rookies to. I think this is one of the places where, you know, maybe there's a new car on iRacing, like, you know, the LMP3, for example, etc., and you want to take it out on a track to really push it to the limit. This is one of them, because really it's so complete, so full of different kinds of corners, and it really allows you to push the car as much as it can possibly be pushed. With a couple of minutes left in the session, Gael Valero is happily sitting in the pits, so I'm not sure. I don't think he will. He has basically 30 seconds to come out of the pits and maybe attempt another lap. Otherwise, he will be happy with his 33.797. All the other three drivers, Hasenji, Kulavi and Gaspar, are still out onto the racetrack, trying to get an improvement on their own lap time. Kulavi can't improve, but he will have one more attempt, maybe two.
Yeah, could be a bit close to the wire of getting two final push laps here at Rudskogen in Norway. It's an improvement in the first sector by Caio Gaspar, 7.9 flat for the number 2 from Brazil, and he's improved again in sector number 2, 31.744, just over a tenth behind the sector time set by Gaio Valero on his best lap, which is 133.798. We are on board with Jackson Osenje. On that particular occasion, it wasn't exactly the quickest lap for the Brazilian. But yes, the Hoonigan livery is back. Thank you so much for doing that, Caio Gaspar. You are an absolute legend for doing so. And Caio Gaspar is going across the line. And that was a 1 minute 34.588. So no improvement there. Phil Harvey setting a personal best with a 31.935 in sector number 2. It's nearly 2/10 off of the that same sector where Gaspar posted a 31.744, but Phil Harvey, not exactly the greatest. Third sector of 17.272.
Oh!
And well, he's aborted the lap, and that is his qualifying session done and dusted, I'm afraid. He's probably going to be he'll return to garage. He's parked it, as we see Caio Gaspar through into the very, very twisty section here at turns 5 to 7, and into the left-hander at 8. There is number 1 of Jackson Osenje. He's also trying to look to improve, but the first two sectors haven't really helped him that much, but he's done a personal best in sector number 3 as he's making his way through turn 13 and into 14 now. Caio Gaspar has just gone purple in sector 2. The 31.603, he's 3/4 of a second off. His first sector was a 28.0. His second sector was a 31.6. Fractionally quicker than Valero. 17.2 in sector 3 as he's out of the final corner. He's going to go across the line. Will he actually improve this time? 17.5 in the final sector puts him P3 by nearly a tenth and a half of a second ahead of Gaston Kulharvi, and that is going to end his qualifying session. Jackson Osenje making his way through turn 2. You can see that the front end is sort of like pointing downwards, but bumping as the body roll and the suspension reacts to the undulation of this Norwegian circuit as he's making his way through into turns 7 and 8. No improvement in the opening sector. It's a 27.859, less than half a tenth off of the best sector from Gael Valero. It's about to really slowing down, and he's going to call it a day. That is going to end his qualifying, and there is Caio Gaspar pulling to a stop. That is it. Qualifying is in the bag here for AMX Global. It's AMX 0. Race number 30 here at Rudskogen Motor Centre in the Norwegian countryside. Valero takes pole by nearly 4/10 of a second ahead of Osenje, Gaspar and Kulharvi, rounding out the 4-strong grid. And it's going to be an 11-lap race around this circuit. So again, we're going to see a very, very interesting start because once again, like with the Porsches, we will have a standing start. So Valero and Resenje already readied up on the grid, just waiting for Gaspar. Gulharvi has popped onto the grid as well, and very shortly, hopefully when Kyle Gaspar in the number 2 car pops onto the grid, we'll be ready to get this 11-lap race around the Rudskogen Motor Speedway here in Norway underway. As soon as he does that, the revs will start to rise, and then Barney the flagman will be ready with the green flag on the start-finish straight. So we are patiently waiting for Mr. Gaspar to join the session, thereby we can get things going. Again, it's a spec series car. It is the car that is one of the support classes for the Fanatec GT World Challenge Americas, powered by AWS. And in that particular class, the drivers in real life are battling away for their share of a $1 million prize pool, and that is incredible. Yep, still patiently waiting. Gaston Gulharvi just checking the steering's working okay from left to right. Lefty loosey, righty tighty, as we would say here in the United Kingdom. Just want to make sure that it's all working fine, that there's no problems. Gaspar lines up on the grid. 11 laps of the Rudskogen Motor Speedway here in Norway, set to get going here on AMX 0. Race number 30, the revs rise, lights are out. Good start by Valero, but Resenje gets a better launch in the second phase of the race start as they make their way through in towards turn 1 for the first time. Valero takes the inside line and Resenje gives them a little bit of an assist from behind. Gaspar bouncing through the little hump through the inside of turn number 1. Gulharvi right on the back bumper of the number 2 as they now make their way out of turn 2 down this incredibly long back stretch, which is going to go over the crest now. Down the dip, in towards the right-hander here at turn 3. Resenje right with Valero, who's a little bit wider coming through the exit of turn number 4. Up the hill they go once again, now into the twisty stuff. Turn 5, now into the right at 6, over the crest. Through into the left at 7. Or it's another left-hander here at turn 8, and Resenje was sticking his nose up the inside of Gael Valero to try and get through for the race lead, but at the moment, after 60% of the opening lap, the field is covered by just over a second as Valero keeps a hold of the lead thus far. Good start by everybody. It's been a clean opening lap as we're making our way towards the final complex of the circuit itself here at Rudskogen. But Valero trying to break away early. He's got the lead over Resenje to just north of 0.6 of a second. And just bounce to make their way through into turn number 14 out of the final corner. Gulharvi has got the slipstream on Gaspar as Valero leads the field over the line to complete the first lap of 11.
Group still very much all compact as they had for turn 1 of lap number 2. Valero was able to repel the attack from Resenje that bumped at the back. That could have unsettled the car into the first section of corners, but the Frenchman was able to keep his position, and now I think Gulharvi is maybe looking for a move on Gaspar, but you see this next braking area, it's very, very difficult to get a move on because it's not hard enough to allow you to push unless your opponent makes a mistake, which is what Gaspar did there. And here comes Gulharvi, left, right, and then left again, but still no way through for the Argentinian on the Brazilian. Maybe they can try again in turn 10, which is probably the best passing spot of the old racetrack, which is coming up after this one, but Gaspar is able to pull away just a bit more and is able to defend with ease into turn 10. So positions remain the same. Valero from Resenje, Gaspar and Gulharvi, your top 4 tonight at Rudskogen.
Valero now has the lead of just over 1.1 seconds over Jackson Resenje. Resenje now having to he's going to try and stride forward a little bit here. It's a longer race in terms of the laps, but not in terms of the distance, because considering the fact that we had 8 laps around a 5.1 kilometer circuit at the Nurburgring earlier on, now got 11 laps around a 3.254 kilometer circuit. Another fastest lap of the race by Valero as he puts in a 1:33.659. He's now got a gap of over 1.4 seconds over Jackson Sanjay, but Gaston Kulharvi is not in the vein of giving up at all. The gap between him and Kayan Gaspar now extends to just around about half a second as they're going down the backstretch on the run down over the crest, down the dip, into this very deceptive looking right-hander here at turn 3. It's just about feathering the throttle, 4th gear, now down to 3rd, 70 miles an hour through out of turn number 4, and now applying the power. He's got a better run coming out of turn number 4 as Kulharvi through 5, up the hill into 6, over the crest, through into the next left-hander at turn 7. And Kulharvi really trying to put the frighteners on to Kayan Gaspar for that 3rd place there, Marco.
Yes, it's getting closer and closer, and still Kulharvi isn't able to find the breakthrough he needs to try and go for the overtake, but it seems like he's not going to be an easy customer for Kayan Gaspar. You can see he's trying almost everything. You can get a bit creative with the racing line there into turn 12, but now of course turn 13 and 14 is long hairpin. You need to be super patient. Can't go on the throttle too early or you might be tagged with a slowdown, and now it's a fantastic run for the Argentinian, Alex.
Yeah, Kulharvi pulls to the right-hand side of Kayan Gaspar, but however Gaspar's going to have the inside line for turn number 1. Bumps over the curbing once again, gets a little bit of a carry of momentum through that slight airtime number 2 GR86 got. Kulharvi is now still very much with him. 10th and a half separates the pair as they go down the dip, over the crest, into turn 3. Again, Kulharvi looks to the inside. Gaspar goes a little bit wide, and Kulharvi's up the inside of him, through into turn number 4. Now they're going to be side by side through into the next left-hander here at turn 5. Gaspar still has the inside line. Now it's the inside line for Kulharvi through 6, and he gets through by the narrowest of margins, and he's sideways. He's sideways, and Gaspar looks up the inside through into the turn 8, turn 9 complex. Kulharvi's going to get a little bit of a run because he'll have the inside line. The right-hand hairpin here at turn 10. Kulharvi looks up the inside, back end slides out as he tries to apply the power. And Kulharvi, after a 6-corner exchange, makes it through for P3 ahead of Kayan Gaspar.
Fantastic stuff there, Alex. Incredible battle, and in the end the Argentina was able to complete the move, but you were right, it was not easy. Fantastic defense from Gaspar, very respectful driving from the both of them. I honestly I really appreciate this, especially online when you are doing this in a sim racing environment. It's so difficult to be clean. There are less consequences. Sometimes the lag can play a tricky part in exaggerating the collisions of driving side by side. Incredibly difficult. I think now even Jackson Kesenji could be part of this fight, because despite the big battle they had, these two drivers, Alex, Jackson hasn't been able to profit from it. As a matter of fact, he is dropping backwards towards the both of them. So I think that we could have a big fight for 2nd place now.
Yeah, because that gap is now under 7/10 of a second, so Kulharvi's really got the fire lit in the belly after getting that fantastic side-by-side battle between himself and Kulharvi and Gaspar having that toe-to-toe, wheel-to-wheel battle for 3rd place. Just showcased how respectful you can be here on the iRacing service, especially in a spec vehicle around a very challenging 3.254 kilometer circuit. You can see the sector times briefly popping up. I mean, Kulharvi's just put personal best in sectors 1 and 2. He is catching. He was over a 10.5 quicker than Sanjay in the opening sector. It's a 10th slower in sector 2, but still managed a personal best. Slightly slower in sectors 3 and 4 by Kulharvi. The gap has now expanded through to around about 7.5 tenths of a second as we're now on to lap number 6 out of 11. Valero has checked out. There's no stopping the unflappable Frenchman in the number 33 from Apex Racing. And he's 3.8, 3.9 seconds up the road. He's about to go through turn number 3. As we see this wonderful rear camera shot on board with Jackson Resenje from Brazil. There's Kulhavi and Gaspar. The whole field is pretty much covered now by just under 5.5 seconds. And you look at it from that perspective, a second and a half covers second, third and fourth at this respective time as this technical part of the circuit turns 5, 6 and 7. It's a left-right-left complex, very echoes of Suzuka in some respects there as well, like say going through the Snake complex and then heading through left-hander at Dunlop, for instance. It's a great way of showcasing the agility and the handling prowess of these particular cars here, the GR86. You can see our race leader picture in picture at the moment. He's making his way through into turn 13 and into the very long winding right-hander. Brings you back onto the start-finish straight, and Gael Valero is just 5 laps away from a double victory here tonight. First in AMX 5, the Porsche 992 Cup cars at the Nurburgring. Now here at Rudskogen, the GR86 Cup cars.
That the DRS banner there coming out of the final corner, thankfully transparent, because all 3 of these drivers basically went through it. As you can see there on the bottom right side of your screen for more than a second, the beautiful picture-in-picture the production crew is putting on for our race leader. At the lap times, all 3 of them in the 34s, 34.5, 34.4, 34.5 for Resenje, Kulhavi and Gaspar. You know, Alex, iRacing has been accused, and rightfully so in my opinion, when a new track comes out, they put it on a lot of schedules, a lot of series now, and one would say, well, they do this to, you know, get the track to be purchased by as many drivers as possible, but they do this even with free tracks. In the first season that Rudskogen was available, it hosted official races in the basically the copycat Fanatec GT World Challenge, and in IMSA. Can you imagine?
Just goes to show they want to get the track to have a bit more traction on it, so to speak. Pardon the pun.
Yes. Absolutely, you know, it's certainly not the track I would think of for, you know, multi-class racing, but you know, it works more or less. As now you can see our beautiful faces on the screen. Once again, we have got just 3 laps left right now. 4 laps left, apologies. No, yeah, 4. You know, my maths are quite bad, especially at this time of day. And the fight for second, third and fourth still very much alive. With we are on board. The camera again. Let's hope that Kulhavi doesn't park the car right now, Alex, because you can really see how much the car is leaning. I say this every time I'm boring, I know. I love iRacing, I love all the other sims, I drive regularly with Assetto Corsa, Automobilista, whatever. But iRacing, when you spectate a race on online race, it's the best because you can really tell, look at that, how much the cars are leaning, the body roll, the chassis flex, the suspension bouncing. It's really like the way iRacing does it in an online race as a spectator is second to none in my opinion. It really looks like it's the real thing.
Yeah, one of the biggest developments, however, is the battle for second position has now become a 2-horse race. Because Kaya Gaspar has unfortunately dropped the ball on the previous lap. It was a 1 minute 35.7. But Kulhavi still keeping Resenje very, very honest indeed. As they've just come out of turn number 10 through the left-hand kink here at turn 11 before the 90 left at turn 12. It's about rotating the cars through the corner. This is based on the production vehicle that is available in your local Toyota dealerships. No sort of real affiliation to dealerships because I used to work in them for about 20 years. But the good thing is that by having this spec style car, it gives everyone the same platform on which to compete on a level playing field. And yeah, it's very much the case that, oh, now this gap is getting a lot closer now. It was just under half a second for the first time in a very, very long while indeed. We're on to lap number 9 out of 11. So after this one, when Gael Valero crosses the line in about 10 corners time, it will be a case of 2 to go till the checkered. And you're not talking about the race leader that much. Now the race leader's doing a pretty good job, and with the gap now 6 seconds over Jackson and Sanjay. Kulharvi's dropping a little bit of time as they go through turns 5, 6 and 7 once again. But will we see something special from the Argentinian in the dying moments of this race, Marco? I think we could.
We could. We've seen in the other race in the Nurburgring earlier how quickly things can change. Just takes, one corner taking slightly better or worse by one of the drivers, and things can really become hairy all of a sudden and exciting. Of course, Cal Valero is enjoying a fantastic night, or well, early morning for him at the office, because he's been leading quite comfortably both races. Of course, he had to work for it a bit in the Porsche Cup race until the mistake by Hasenji, but here at Rudskogen with the 86, he has checked out basically since turn 1 of the first lap. You can see him here enjoying this nice drive. Only 2 more laps left for him, and then he can celebrate a nice double in today's events. All to play for, even though I'm seeing from the timing tower that a mistake from Kulhavi, and actually now Gaspar is coming back in the hunt for third place. A bit of safety now for Hasenji, who should be able to finish in third. 3 seconds the gap now, so probably a mistake, possibly a mistake in the first section of the lap for the Argentinian, and he dropped further behind than was expected.
Yeah, I've noticed something very characteristic about these GR86s. Just a moment ago we saw Gael Valero going through turns 3 and 4, and no word of a lie, as he went into turn number 3, there's a little bit of a dip and it caught the right front wheel, which was going up into the air, and it happened again going through turn number 4. So despite the fact that these cars having spec suspension components, characteristics of Rudskogen really does show how much pitch roll that there are on these GR86 Cup cars. They've got reinforced FIA homologated safety cages in them. They have the same engine underneath the bonnet of the car. So now we go on to the final lap. White flag is in the air. Our race leader, Francis Gael Valero, now leading by just 7.1 seconds as Sanjay makes his way through into turn number 1. The back end stepped out a little bit. He's made a bit of a mistake. He's made a bit of a big mistake there as Jackson Sanjay, and the gap was 3 seconds. It's now dipped under 2. And Sanjay now coming towards the end of the race. The tyres might have been slightly falling off the cliff. Well, Harvey was nearly half a second quicker on the previous tour, but that big mistake going through into turns 1 and 2 by Jackson Sanjay was not quite what he needed. Gaspar is closing in on Gaston Kulhavi for that third position. Going through turns 3 and 4 again on both those respective cars. The front wheel is bouncing up and down like a yo-yo on a string, but Valero now has a lead of over 8.5 seconds. Kaya Gaspar trying to close on in as they're making their way through turns 8 and right here at 9 for the last time. Our leader making his way down in towards the 90 left at turn number 12. So 2 more corners to go. With Gael Valero from France, it will further solidify his claim to the AMX 5 global rankings. And there he is in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, winner at the Nurburgring in the 992 Cup cars. And now the 14th and final turn. After 11 laps, Valero does the double. This time here at Rudskogen in the GR86 Cup cars. Sanjay will take second position in the number 1, as there we go, a bit of stunt driving there from Gael Valero. And plus, Gael, it's rear-wheel drive. Please light up the rear tyres and do some donuts, please. And well, that fell on deaf ears, I think. But it looks like the Sanjay was also trying to mirror Valero's antics going through into turn 1. And look at that, parallel parking at its finest, just outside of the gravel. And there we go. Valero picks up a double victory here tonight on race day 35, here on race 30 of AMX 0, winning by 9.618 seconds ahead of Jackson Sanjay. Gaston Kulhavi running at the top 3, could have been second, and Sanjay made a bit more of a howler of a mistake through turns 1 and 2 with just 1 lap remaining. Kaya Gaspar Well, it could have been third. It ended up being fourth, the number 2 from Brazil. And that includes race day 35's racing action out on track here. So, you know what, Marco? Let's have a look back. Valero, dominant. No one could touch him, checked out on both races. But we did have some fun and frolicsome shenanigans, as they say, between the likes of Resenge, Kulhavi and Gaspar. And great to see that the Ken Block livery works pretty well on the GR86 Cup car, doesn't it?
We had a lot of fun, absolutely, Alex. The only big what if of the evening was, of course, that Resenge slowed down in the Nurburgring race, because we could have had a bit more of a fight for first place, I think. But, you know, mistake is a mistake. And we had some great fun. Beautiful liveries. I like both of these cars. I like to say, you know, when we have like some single make racing, puts everybody on a plain level field, and naturally brings out excitement and fantastic racing all around. And we are going to have that, of course, very soon on Sunday, because one of the more fun cars in the service, the Radical SR8, will be back from Daytona. That thing is so much fun to drive, and it's free, by the way, with your racing subscription. And then, of course, we will have, if I'm not mistaken, the Hyundai TCR cars. They will be from Nurburgring, so front-wheel drive. I think it's the only broadcast that I'm not doing out of the next few days, so I'll be watching as a spectator from the comfort of my bed.
Well, I will also probably be staying in a hotel not too far outside of Lincolnshire, so I've got a very busy weekend. I'm actually flying in a few hours' time over to Latvia, then back to the United Kingdom for more karting work. But don't forget, join us on race day 36. It's going to be Radical SR8s. Will the eyebrows on Zampolini's car return? You're going to have to watch to find out on that one. That's AMX5. AMX20 will be the Velocitas and the Elantra TCR cars at the Hungaroring. Big thank you to everyone for watching. Don't forget to hit us up on social media. Thank you to Automatics. Thank you to BenQ. A big thank you to our production team over in South Korea. And on behalf of Marco and myself, Alex, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you for race day 36 on Sunday night. Until next time, keep it pinned. We'll see you again soon. Goodbye.